Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to talk about paint jobs and in particularly Maaco. So I know that there are many kind of stereotypes about this body shop not being very well, or not being very good, I should say, but I just want to tell you about my experience, tell you about what happened with my car. This is kind of funny. Due to everybody being in quarantine and this car being catless with Borla tax, I have the BBK Off-Road X-Pipe. You can click on that card right here to check out that. I'm actually pushing my car out of the garage to give you a better picture in the sunlight. I just can't start it because my mom is doing a Zoom class right now. And I don't want my loud car to disrupt her class. So later on in the video, I'm going to cover some of the quality aspects of the paint job, and you can see right there on the right, the overspray actually on the exhaust tips from when I had the car painted. So in this clip here, I'm just going to give you a walk around of my car out in the sunlight, and at this point the car probably hasn't been washed for, I would say, about 4 or 5 days. It stayed in the garage most of the time, so you can see there's a little bit of swirling, nothing too crazy, but this paint did wax up very nicely, and I used to do a spray wax very often, so I tried to take very good care of this car. Furthermore, this car was not a garage queen, and it did go through automatic car washes, but you're going to see in the front here, there's a chip right there on the left, and in that lower grill portion, there is some peeling of the paint. I'm going to throw in some before and after pictures as well, and some pictures specifically showing some of the imperfections in the paint. So I'm just gonna say I'm gonna make sure to link the location of the place that did my paint down below. It was in New York, and this is about a 1-year update and just experience on how it went. So my biggest complaint off the bat was how long it took. The guy at the place who did my car said that it would take about, I think it was a week. Yeah, it was a week. It was 7 days, and it ended up taking 2.5 weeks. Which I can understand normally 2.5 weeks for a car to get done. If you would have told me that in the beginning, So if I would have known beforehand that the car was going to take about 2.5 weeks to be done, I would have been able to make other arrangements, because still the Mustang is my only car and I need to get to work, I need to get to school, and I didn't have my car for that. So that's why it was such an inconvenience. He told me a week, so that's what I was expecting. And the second thing, which has really been kind of sad when you think about the car is less than a year old, is some of the paint is already showing some issues and chipping off of the car. So I'm going to show you that first and then give you more background to it. So when you look at the front bumper here, I'm not sure how well it will be able to pick it up, but you can see here there's some peelage. We got a nice chip right there. And it's kind of this whole lower bumper portion. And as well, you can see that there's a little bit of overspray still on the fog light from the base coat that they used, which I haven't been able to clean off. And as you probably noticed earlier, there was a little bit of overspray on my Borla tax. The sad part about the exhaust was, at this time, the exhaust was probably, I would say, about a month old, and then I brought the car to get painted, and it got overspray on it, so that was really upsetting. And in this clip here, you can really see the overspray on the exhaust tip. This was on the left side, the driver's side of the car, and overall the car was just not masked properly. The fog light, not too crazy again. $15 for a fog light, but just still little things like that. When you're paying $2 grand for a car to get painted, it's not the best thing. And as you just heard, the whole entire car cost $2 grand to get painted. And even though the car is a little dirty and definitely could use a nice wax, I've had this car waxed up before and it was beautiful. And I mean, still is beautiful even sitting here. And I'll make sure to throw up a couple of pictures right here of what the car looked like beforehand. And actually, I just remembered one other thing. A couple of spots on the car still have overspray on some of the plastics here. So I'm guessing some of their masking wasn't the best. And another attribute on the front end, this whole bumper situation may or may not have been my fault as well. As many of you know, I go to school in Florida, so I drove this car from New York at the time all the way to Florida, and the paint before the drive had probably, I would say, 2 weeks to cure, and then I drove all the way to Florida. And at the time, I didn't have a front bra or a cover for the front end. So what I did was I did blue painter's tape on the front. I didn't like layer it up. I didn't do anything crazy. I made sure the surface was clean before I threw the painter's tape on. And I had the painter's tape on for, I would say, about 15 hours of the drive. And right after I picked off the painter's tape, it was fine. There wasn't anything like paint-wise coming off. But then, probably about a month or two after I got to Florida, the whole front end just started to peel like that. And that first major chip actually happened during Thanksgiving. That big, like, chip that I filled in with some touch-up paint. This guy right here, that chip. So now that was all the bad on the car after a year. And really, when you think about it, I've put about 18,000 miles on the car, and I would say the paint has been on for about 10,000 miles of that, maybe even more, maybe 12,000 miles of it. And I get compliments on this car all the time. I have people who love taking pictures with the car, looking at it, and just from what it was to now, it is light years better, and it has a nice flake in it, and when it's all polished up, it's good. Sorry, I was just looking at the car. But you have to make sure you take care of this paint. It's not like normal paint. And when I say it's not like normal paint, Maaco does have to cut corners in some places, and technically the car does have a base coat. It had a regular like red coat, so it had two coats, I guess, of the base and the regular, and then it had two coats of clear. That's what came with the $2,000 package, and as well they did Bondo over any of the dings and etc. around the car like that. But overall, my conclusions about the paint job is I loved it. I thought the car looked great, and as you've seen from a bunch of the pictures, the car totally transformed from what it was before. The faded red with the peeling on the spoiler and the fenders that were different than the doors and X, Y, and Z. But after the car got painted, everything just wrapped up. Like the whole car became a completely new car. And especially for the price of $2,000 getting everything done, because other body shops I went to were giving me quotes of $4,500 to $6,000. And with the car being a new Edge Mustang, like not a Cobra or anything fancy like that, and being an automatic, it wasn't really worth that money to me to throw all that into the car. And especially being a high school kid at the time, I didn't have that money to really throw into the car. Furthermore, I really hope you guys enjoyed all of those before and after pictures that I just posted again. But this is the end of the video, so please make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!